Welcome to the root of all success with the real Jason Duncan, a podcast that explores how the world's most powerful entrepreneurs unlocked success and how their stories can help you do the same. A successful educator turned entrepreneur, Jason has built multi-million-dollar businesses that have been featured in Inc. magazine and Entrepreneur magazine. His life's mission now is helping entrepreneurs live what he calls #the exit lifestyle. Introducing TEDx speaker, mastermind leader, author, entrepreneur, cigar aficionado, motorcycle enthusiast, and host of The Root of All Success, the real Jason Duncan. The real Jason Duncan.
Welcome back to another episode. I am the real Jason Duncan. I've got a great guest for you today, and it's really a first for me. I actually, you'll hear me kind of become aware of this as I'm talking to Jake in the show about it, but I actually do think now that the show, I'm recording this intro after I've recorded the actual show with Jake, but now that I've thought about it, I really do think he's the first client that I've had on the show as a guest on my show. So this is a first for me. So you're going to get to hear from someone that I've been coaching as a business coach for the last couple of years to see how his business has grown, to see what's been going on there. But more importantly than my involvement in that is just how amazingly successful he's become in just a short period of time, using COVID as a launching spot place for him to say, you know what, everything's shut down. I'm gonna dive really hard and heavy into this software project and get this thing launched a lot sooner than I would have otherwise. Jake Milner is my guest today, and he's the founder and CEO of a company called Nurture. It's Nercher. It's a consulting group that's focused on helping businesses build operations that scale responsibly. So a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we want to scale, but we don't do it responsibly. We run out of cash, even though our bottom line says we're profitable, and we don't know what to do. So he and his team they partner with small to mid-sized companies to implement sustainable practices around three things. So he's got a big three blueprint, which we're going to talk a little bit about on the show, where the first part of that big three is inventory control, second part is financial leadership, and the third part is this performance to plan management, which we'll dive into, kind of break down a little bit in the show. But he works with companies anywhere from a $5 million supply distributor to a $75 million e-commerce business. And he's really good at his craft, and has a relentless work ethic, which you'll hear him talk about closer to the end of the show today. He has also built and launched a platform called Nurture 360 as a CRM and a leadership leadership tool for people to see, as small business owners, to see what's actually going on in their business. And it gives small businesses and their teams these actionable insights on things that they can do, and it gives them the answers to the right questions. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome the one and only Jake Milner to the show. Hey, Jake, welcome to the show, man. It's good to see you.
Hey, man, good to see you as always. I'm glad we're doing this, man. I've been excited about it.
Yeah, well, we're finally here, and I think this is your first ever podcast recording, right? Is that right?
This is the first, man. I don't get a lot of time to sit down, but anybody that's ready to do this, I'm ready to go, man. Let's give it a shot.
Well, I remember way back when I did my first show as a guest, and it was exciting. I actually recorded mine at a radio station. There's a radio station here in Hendersonville, Tennessee. And a lady invited me to be on her podcast. I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. So I showed up and wore the headphones, had the big microphone on a boom, but there were no cameras. Nobody got to see it other than the photographs we took that day. But you'll never forget your first.
Yeah,
Jake.
that's right. That's right. I was hoping we'd be able to do this in person and sit down and have the whiskey and the cigar and all that stuff. But we'll do that. We'll do that a different time.
Yeah, so you and I both live in the Nashville area. We've known each other through the Standard Club for, 3 or 4 years, and you've been a great client of mine. Which is, as a matter of fact, I'm trying to go back in my brain real quick. I don't think I've had another client of mine on the show as a guest. So you might be the first client I've had. So I hear you have an amazing business coach. You might have to tell everybody about him. But,
I was going to say the fact that I'm sitting here should be a nice, awesome success story for both of us, right? We're doing good.
Well, so Jake, you live here in the Nashville area. You've got a very successful business in nurture you've built up over the last several years. And really, COVID had a lot to do with you kind of going this direction, especially with Nurture 360, which is your software platform, which, by the way, everybody needs to go check that out, nurture360.com. It's NERCHER360.com. It's a fantastic CRM and leadership tool, like I talked about in the intro, for teams to not have to dig through data. But that really was born out of COVID. So your entrepreneurial journey really, is it right to assume that kind of started during COVID?
In a sense, part of it did. Going back a little bit, I had a job at the beginning. I had a job in sales, B2B, run around trying to sell product, and I was awful at it, terrible. And the company that I was working for, we eventually had to get on the phone and go, hey man, this ain't gonna work. But they needed help in warehouse operations and over at home base where they did order fulfillment and operations and inventory control and all this good stuff. And I said, let's do it, man. And I got there and, when I saw all that stuff, I immediately knew, man, this is going to be my zone. I'm in. They had all these processes going on, production, step-by-step manufacturing, fulfillment, and I just loved it. Couldn't stop thinking about it. So I was really heavy into the interest of, operational process improvements and inventory control and financial improvements early on. And when I started Nurture, it was really, I got everything together, had a great blueprint that I had watched work several times and packaged it all up and wanted to be able to do this with lots of small business owners. Got it all ready, launched it up February 2020. So here I was, launched a full consulting and program platform for small businesses. And as soon as I was ready, I literally thinking back, I think I walked out of my house, got in the car to go do this. And then it was like COVID and all the small businesses went home. Right. So I'd had the plans for this software product for quite a while. And when COVID happened, I really just hit the gas on that. I said, hey, I can sit around and kind of complain and be upset about this, or I can just put the foot on the gas and finish the software product, probably a year to a year and a half really earlier than I had planned to. And that's what we did. So COVID definitely had a lot to do with the software side of things, especially being ready right now. Yeah.
What's interesting about your story and in comparison to a lot of the stories that happened as a result of COVID is you had a lot of people believe in the news and the hype and all of the lies that we were told about how it's going to kill your grandma and you got to stay home and pull back. The whole message was pull back. Don't move ahead. Pull back. It was almost as if there was this. I'm not saying there was, but it's almost as if there was this grand idea that some mastermind back in the shadows went, you know what? Let's make sure everybody pull back about 10 years. And so a lot of people did. They pulled back about 10 years. They stopped going anywhere. They stopped doing anything. Businesses slowed to a halt. Some shut down. But you. And thankfully you did, and so many others said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to push forward and I'm going to get stuff done that I now have time to do. So in a way, I guess you could be thankful for COVID in a kind of a weird way. So is that it? What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely an interesting time, man. It was, gosh, that was quite a wild year. But yeah, in a sense, I look back and I go, hey, 2020 actually ended up being one of the best years I can think of. I got so much time at home, so much more time with the family. I found out I was so much more productive that way and able to just hammer out these projects. So of course, with what was going on and being mindful and doing the best thing for everybody. It was, if people want to meet and people want to get together, I was happy to. And certainly I'm, was cautious of everybody that has, high risk family members and didn't want to have in-person meetings. And, you just do the best thing you can for everybody and everybody's viewpoint. But certainly, Jason, I hammered out. I mean, I got a lot done. I will tell you that, for the first few weeks of that, I was like, man, this is great. I get up, I have coffee, I hit the desk, I'm super productive. This is amazing. But after a couple months of that, I got up and I made coffee and I was standing in my kitchen. I told my wife, I said, man, if I don't put clothes on and go somewhere, I'm not going to get anything done. This is starting to not work real well. But luckily, I've got an office that, small office that I can get in when I need to go to and get work done, and not a lot of people here. So I was able to have that the whole time too.
That story too is a funny, interesting sidebar. We could talk about the difference between working from home versus working at the office, working from anywhere. I work from home now, full, 100% of the time when I'm not traveling. I travel quite a bit, as you know, but when I'm home, I love working here. I don't want to go to an office. I don't ever want to go back to an office, but there are some people like my wife. She's like, I can't get anything done here. She has to go somewhere. If she has to do anything at all, she's like, I can't do it here. But it sounds like you kind of have a good mixture of both.
I got a good mixture of both. I tell people I have two different zones. I've got a very, I've got a people zone and I've got a productivity and hammer things out zone. So depending on which one of those zones I'm in is a very different experience. But I can be behind a computer for hours and get a lot of things done. But sooner or later, what I really, really love to do is be on site with people and looking at operations and process improvement opportunities and brainstorming with people. So I got to get around groups of people that are just all about continuous improvement and hammering things out. So too much time behind doors by myself, not great, but definitely need that recharge time too.
So what do you think? So when you started your entrepreneurial journey, you came out of selling, you discovered that you really love process improvements and flow of inventory and understanding all the numbers. You're very good at numbers, understanding books, P&Ls, balance sheet, and that type of thing, cash flow reports. You discovered that's something that you had a natural inclination towards, and then you decided to start a business. Why was it that decision as opposed to let me go get a corporate job making really good money doing that for somebody else?
Yeah, so it's interesting. That company I was telling you about that I moved out of sales and kind of jumped in their operation, that really sparked it, right? So I was just super interested in that stuff and knew that, okay, this is where I'm going to be. But as a business, we weren't good at it, right? And I was certainly super young. I had no experience, but I was just driven, right? So that operation worked with really just a bunch of guys just muscling it. I mean, working as many hours as it took to figure it all out. Lots of heroics like you and I have talked about before. So, I ended up, that was a very small family business. And then I ended up having an opportunity to go to work for one of the largest companies in the world at, like 360,000 employee type of companies. But they had these business divisions that, regional offices and distribution centers that were all, run like their own small businesses on their own P&L. So I went to work for those guys, huge company, all the processes set up. Manage a little inventory team, manage a warehouse fulfillment team, and then eventually ended up running that building. And I just got a massive, massive education. But I'll tell you what was happening for me while I was there is, and I couldn't help it, the entire time I was there and I was getting this education on how to set up inventory to control, how to run these processes. I got some lean education, how to run a P&L and a balance sheet for a business. The entire time it was happening for me, Jason, I was going, oh, this is what we should do in that little company. Oh, this is what would work in that small business. Oh, here's how we would control the inventory and fill all the orders in time at this small company over here. I just couldn't help it. And so the other thing that I realized while I was there is the difference between small business and big, giant corporate company. And that's that the small companies have the hard part figured out. They've got great people that are in and committed and want to be there and want to do well. They're just missing a lot of the structure and the processes and SOPs that kind of make things tick. And so I immediately was in this headspace of how do I translate the best of this big business operation and fit it in with the best of small family-run business to really just make huge financial impact while maintaining that small business culture. And I was just driven by it. I mean, I was working on that, making notes all the time. And, I ended up going back to that small company with knowing what to do. And we straightened it up fast. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars in process improvements and labor changes and shipping expense. I mean, we pulled all the low-hanging fruit out of that small business. And I knew, okay, I've got the blueprint, right? So the beginning of the next year, we started Nurture, started offering that same exact blueprint that we knew would work. And we've tweaked it a lot along the way, obviously. But that was the start of offering that same blueprint to small, family run or small team friendly businesses that needed to scale responsibly.
Well, that's the story, I think, of most entrepreneurs. If we look back at how they got started, how the idea was sparked, is that they saw an opportunity. They saw a void in the marketplace, something that needed to be fixed. And they themselves, as you did, had the unique ability to fix that. They had a superpower that was like, I can do that. I can fix that. So you started your entrepreneurial journey just like a lot of other people did. You saw a problem. Small businesses don't have these processes in place. They don't have the SOPs in place. They don't have this stuff. I can help them because if I'm helping this company that has 360,000 employees, which is a $1 billion plus company, surely some of the same stuff will happen. And so you built this thing with Nurture called the Big Three Blueprint, which I want to talk about in a minute. But why did you name the company Nurture? Where'd that come from? The fun part for me, Jason, is really like I love all the operations improvement and I love making impact to the financials, and it's all fun to me, like a big puzzle. But the best part and the reason I think I really love this is when I see people on these teams that go, man, thank you. Like life just got a lot easier, or we give a business owner some peace of mind, right? Like their system can run without them doing all the heroics. I love making employees' lives better, right? So I really wanted to play on the word nurture, right? Because I was about nurturing this small business, nurturing the staff and the team and the employees. And then I just flipped up the spelling, so it would, obviously cause a lot of conversations to have to happen. So it is Nurture for those that are listening, Nercher, Nurture, phonetically pronounced the right way.
Yeah.
So Nurture. So you named it Nurture, and then over time you decided to come up with this thing called the Big Three Blueprint. And this Big Three Blueprint goes through inventory control, financial leadership, and performance to plan management, which are lots of inner company jargon that most people listening is not going to know what the hell any of that means. So what does that mean? Let's talk about inventory control. That sounds like we might know what that means, but what does that mean?
Yeah, so it's straightforward. What I tell you is a lot of small businesses think their problem is one thing and they're rarely on it, right? So I have a lot of small businesses go, man, we can make a ton of product. We just can't get it all filled and out the door. Okay. Or, man, we do this thing really great, but we're struggling to produce enough and stay on time, right? Or we're struggling to figure out what to purchase. And they're always around the issue. But the truth is the foundation of all of this is on-hand inventory control. So a lot of the people that we've worked with in the small business world, you end up with creative owners or somebody that had a really great idea for a product or a service, right? And then they wake up and they've got this whole business around them, and they don't necessarily have, operations or inventory control background. So it's really coming in and laying out very, very simple, straightforward, practical inventory control solutions for these teams. The truth is, at the end of the day, Jason, you have to know what you have in order to know what you need, right? So whether you're producing or manufacturing or purchasing from vendors, if your on-hand inventory is not accurate, what's going on is you're making bad purchasing decisions, poorly informed production, scheduling, and all these things just have a major impact on the bottom line. And the worst part for some of these companies is they've got a great product with a super high profit margin. So on the other end of the coin, you've got a great product with high profit margin. You may not even realize you're completely overspending to just run your operation through the year. So the inventory control side is really about, hey, let's strip back down to the very basics, the very foundation. Stop trying to shut your whole business down and count everything you got. We're gonna show up. We're going to implement some daily controls that keep you in the right place, do small daily cycle counts that just validate you're in control. And I tell you that the other place where a lot of people go wrong is they think the point of cycle counts and counting the inventory they have is to go and fix the count. So you really got to kind of change the mindset. The point of your inventory counts is not to go fix the count. The point of your inventory counts is just to validate whether you're in control and doing the right things all day long or you're not, right? And a lot of times we're not. So that's really the very first thing I do, especially with all the companies that are serving product and shipping product. The very first thing we do is a full deep dive audit on their inventory process to make sure we got the basics in place. So that's that kind of first step of that blueprint.
So the inventory, I think most entrepreneurs who have a product that they're selling, obviously you don't do inventory control if it's digital, there's no inventory to count. But if it's a physical product, a widget of some sort, people don't think about the fact that whatever's sitting in the warehouse, whatever's sitting on a shelf somewhere, that's cash. That's cash. That is an asset to the business. And if you don't treat it as cash, if you treat it like if I'm selling coffee cups, like this coffee cup I'm drinking out of right now, that coffee cup, if I sell this coffee cup for $15, then every coffee cup out there in that warehouse is worth $15 in cash to me. Yeah. And if I don't know how many of those I have, somebody might say, you know what, I'm going to take a coffee cup home with me. One of your employees, you know what, I need a new coffee cup. I'm going to take one home. Well, they just stole $15 from you. Mm. And if we don't know where that inventory is going, man, that's dangerous. So what Nurture does, one of the things in your big 3 blueprints, you get in there and you show them how to control that on a daily basis without having to shut the business down, count everything. Because we've all been in those stores where we're doing inventory today and there's like everything's shut down. They're not doing anything at all to help the customers.
Man.
Let's take a quick break to thank our amazing sponsors for making this podcast possible.
As an entrepreneur, I know that you have to deal with sales on a regular basis. I mean, every entrepreneur does. And if you aren't paying attention to sales as an entrepreneur, you're not going to be an entrepreneur for very long. But I've got a sponsor of this show called Dub that helps you bring the personal back to sales. If you want to figure out how to improve content creation, improve client trust, improve your sales process, decrease the sales cycle, because we all know time kills deals. If you want to increase client bookings and increase conversions, you need to take a look at Dub. There's a special offer for Dub for listeners to The Root of All Success at therealjasonduncan.com/Dub. And that's DUBB. I've been using this for years. I'm a huge fan and I'm so honored that they're our primary sponsor of the podcast. They have helped over 60,000 businesses around the world communicate better, to make sales easier, to make sales more personal. Dub is built for growing teams. I mean, you can set up video emails, you can set up custom onboarding, you can do admin reporting, anything you need around video and sales and automation. Dub is there. You can try Dub now. Your conversions to sales are waiting. All you got to do is go to therealjasonduncan.com/dub. And there you're going to get 2 weeks for free to try Dub. Plus, you're going to get 50% off your first 2 months of Dub. You can't beat that. So go check it out. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/dub. 40 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had your business in the Yellow Pages. You remember those things? And 30 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had a door-to-door salesman. 20 years ago, you weren't in business unless you had a website. And today, you're not in business unless you're doing social media content. Am I right? Social media content. Social media content in the form of like micro content, which is 30 to 60 second spots on Instagram Reels or TikTok or YouTube Shorts. That's the way business is done. As a matter of fact, that may be how you found out about this podcast or me as a business coach. This medium that we're using today to communicate what we do is vitally important. And just recording yourself isn't enough. You've got to do it right. And my friends over at Story do it right. And one of the problems with doing it wrong is that you sit around thinking, well, what the heck am I going to record? What am I going to say? How am I going to say it? Like, I don't know what to talk about. Well, Story takes all of that away from you. Stop wasting time trying to come up with content, because Story will send you a video prompt on what to record. You can pick the categories you want to record in, whether it's real estate, entrepreneurship, finance, relationship, leadership, life insurance. It could be anything. Don't waste time on that. And by the way, if you're not confident in talking on video, or if the video editing portion takes up way too much of your time, Story will edit the videos to perform well on social media. They add the subtitles, the pop-ups, the zoom cuts. They remove all the filler words like and and. They remove the awkward pauses. And then they take that video and post it for you. They write the captions, they add the relevant hashtags, and they post it on the platforms that you care about the most. It's exactly what you need to be in business today and to be successful at it. So if you want to learn how to do social media the way the influencers do, you need to go to therealjasonduncan.com/story. And that's story with 2 Y's. Why? Because they're awesome. Go to therealjasonduncan.com/story. That's STORYY for 10% off your first 3 months to try Story out. You're going to thank me later.
Thanks for listening to our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
Well, the second part of your Big Three blueprint is about financial leadership. And this is the part where I find it's really, it's an interesting thing that you do, because you're so good at understanding the numbers, much better than I ever have been or ever will be. Why is that part of your Big Three? This
financial leadership part is really just something I see missing in a lot of the leadership in companies that are, going from their 3 and 4 and 5 million up to 10, 15, 20 million in sales. Because what you see a lot of the times is those guys are in the work, and they're running and gunning and hammering. And it's, at best, a lot of the times you see, okay, the month is over. We're going to get together and have a financial meeting, or the month is done and we're going to get together and see how it went. And my point for everybody is, if you run your business all month and you run and gun and just get everything done, and then after the month closes and is over, you sit down to have a financial meeting, why? What if you don't like what you see? What are you going to do about it, right? It's over. It's too late. So a lot of our financial leadership is set up so that we serve our next phase, which we'll talk about, performance to plan management, but it's set up to really serve a process that keeps you in the know, at least at a weekly huddle basis. The financial leadership part, I mean, honestly, man, I work with some really, really smart people. One of the companies that I work with right now and have been there over a year now, right? Like, if I'm not actively on client projects, I'm at this company because that's a whole nother discussion. It's the best culture I've ever seen. Hope I'm there for a long, long time. But there's really, really smart guys there. And then I've got the other creative business owners we talked about, are small teams that are really keeping up with just fast growth, and they're not financial leaders. So we actually come in and run financial analysis for these business owners, but with the business owners. So we walk through their P&L, we walk through their balance sheet, we tour the operation, and we actually talk about the key metrics they need to track. We talk about the changes and the opportunities they have and where they'll flow through to the financials, so we can actually prove this out and build a plan with the business owners. But Jason said, all said and done, at the end of a project, we actually have a process in place where a business owner that maybe wasn't necessarily financially savvy or good with business financials when we met now has a process in place to analyze where they're at on a weekly basis to get to that month close. And the biggest one there, and you know this as well as anybody, small business owners, profit is not cash, right? And a lot of the growing operations, I can't tell you how many meetings I've had where people go, hey, look at this nice black number at the bottom of this P&L. And you go, yeah, that's awesome. Well, where's my money? I don't have any cash, right? So a lot of it is educational on, what true cash in the small business is and what the difference operationally is to create and churn cash versus a profit. So we've got some nice tools that we built out over the years. We've got some things we put in place with people to really get them an understanding of, hey, I can turn a profit. But if I want to turn a cash profit, including all those things that we pay out on the balance sheet, credit card debt, buying inventory, paying off loans, all that stuff is cash out of the business that doesn't show on your P&L, right? The interest is on the P&L. The principal and all your other stuff is cash out. So we've got some simple tools in place that just lay out for the business owner, here's how we're trending, here's what it means, here's what that means in terms of true cash. And if we want a certain true cash as profit at the end of the month, here's our actual break-even sales amount. So all said and done, my favorite part, man, is they don't have to know any of this. They don't have to be great at it. When we finish the projects, we have live dashboards and they have weekly check-ins with us where we kind of say, here's where we're at, here's how it's going, here's what this means, continue what you're doing, or let's make a couple changes, and we go another week.
So you've got the financial leadership, inventory control, and then the last piece of your big three blueprint is performance to plan management, which is probably the most insider jargon phrase that you've got in those three. Like, what in the world does that mean? What does performance to plan management mean?
Yeah, it's very simple. I think, without meeting any team, I can guarantee you one thing about your people. They want to know what the goal is, and they want to know how they're doing in relation to that goal. So I can tell you, I see a lot of places that what they do is they run and gun and they try real hard, and then they come back tomorrow and they do it again, right? And if you go and you say, hey, what's the plan? What's the goal? What's the sales plan this month? How much are we aiming to spend on X this month? They go, what plan? Right? So performance to plan management for us is a very stripped down, simple way of giving everyone as much transparency to where do we want to be and where are we right now and what do we got to do to get there by the end of the month. So we build out some very simple departmental dashboards. We have a weekly huddle process with executive teams or departmental teams if needed. That are shorter than 15 minutes. And what performance to plan means is everybody has a plan, everybody knows what we're shooting for, and at least on a weekly basis, we huddle up and we show visuals of here's the goal, here's where we're at, here's what we need to make it by the end of the month. And people will, I'll tell you, people will impress you, man, and people will shock you. It's amazing. A lot of places that don't have the target or don't have the goal. And of course, there's a full process to land on the KPIs and the metrics that really matter, right? Because you don't want to measure everything, but you want to measure what matters to the business. But people will, it's amazing what just having the goal will do, right? we worked with a small sales team recently that didn't have a plan. They had a bunch of great people that would try real hard every day. And the simple act of saying, all right, here's our revenue goal as a business. Here's how it breaks down to each of you individually. And they all went and blew it out of the water because they simply had something they were shooting for. So all said and done, performance to plan management, it's just a visual process to say, here's how we're doing. But it banks on having all the right metrics for all the right departments that point everybody in the same direction for the company.
What's been the most fun part about being an entrepreneur for you?
Oh man. I think the most fun part to me is twofold. On the business front, there has been a lot of variety and a lot of new projects and different teams and getting to make changes like that and be in with a lot of these business owners on their planning and strategy. That's huge for me. On the personal side, having some freedom, man. I mean, you kind of know my story, right? But when I set out to do this, I think everybody has a rainbow picture in their head, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna work for myself, and I'm gonna hang out with my family all day, every day, and do whatever I want because I have a business. And for years and years, it's the complete opposite. So you're just, I'm something you talk about a lot that I'm certainly guilty of is the hero syndrome and being prisoner in my own business. So, to your question, on the personal side, I'm really just now starting to figure out some balance and really lean into what's most important and get some time back. And really just focused on what's essential, right? Because I think we all build up our week and have 150 billion things to do. And when you really dive into that, you go, well, these two are massively important. And I need to do these and then focus on what's important. So just, I think learning those things along this way, because I'm a workaholic. To be honest, I dive into a company and I'm like, man, I'm on the team. I help execute. I help lead. I'm in here. Like, I'm all in. But learning how to pull back a little bit and balance and spend time with the family, it's really what you do this for, right?
Well, yeah, that is why you do it. I believe that business ownership is the point of business ownership is not running the business. It's that the business provides you with the financial resources to live the type of lifestyle that you want to live. So how did you learn, if you enjoy the variety and you enjoy the freedom and you're finally getting to that balance, how did you learn how to do that?
Guys like you, man. Actually, in all seriousness, you had a major impact on my mindset for this whole thing. And I worked with a couple of other guys that really just, painted some clear pictures for me. I think realizing that I have the hero syndrome that you often talk about. Just knowing it and seeing that in myself, I go, okay, how do I start to work on this? Because what's funny is you talk about the hero syndrome for business owners and entrepreneurs a lot, and the same way. Part of our blueprint, right? Because all those major categories have a lot of steps within them and a lot of process to go through. But part of that is something I call kill the heroes, right? And we've talked about it. I know it sounds kind of violent, right? But it's really the same thing within your business operation. You find those guys that you go, man, if we didn't have so-and-so here, the place would fall apart, right? And you need to realize, hey, that's amazing. That's great. And you need this person here for a long, long time. But we need to take this person and let them help develop systems and processes that are repeatable, and then have that person as an expert, not as a hero, right? So you got to go find those. So you and I are actually coaching a lot of the same things for different people. And here I am doing that in small businesses all the time. And then you said it to me and I go, what? I have, that's me. So you just got to have the right people around you, man. Like the best thing for me over the past few years is I've gotten some great people around me that there's no question they all want to see me succeed, and I want to see them succeed. So you keep the right people around you, and you just learn a ton.
Well, so what do you think success is? Like you just said, you want to see them succeed. They want to see you succeed. So what does Jake Milner think that success is?
Oh yeah. And that's different for everybody, right? For me, success means, it means freedom, right? For me, success means the freedom to work on the projects that I want to work on. And something I said early on is I really want to be at the place where if you see me working in a company or on a client project, it's because I want to be and not because I have to be. And right now I've got a couple of people that, help run projects and project manager, and I can certainly be where I want to be for the most part. But that's really what success is for me, is freedom. It's not necessarily, there's certainly a financial part to that, but it's not as much about money for me. It's the freedom to work on what I want to work on, and the freedom to focus on my family and my kids. I really just wanted to end up in a place where I could show my kids, you can do your own thing. You can have a business if that's what you want to do. You can crush it, right? And you can do it the right way and treat people the right way and, be an example. So success to me would be just that. I'm an example for my kids, and I have the freedom to work on what I want to work on. Almost there.
Well, that was going to be my follow-up question, is that with that as a definition, do you consider yourself to be successful?
I consider myself to be successful, but I also consider myself to never truly be satisfied. So yeah, in terms of my definition of success, it's an almost, and we're working very, very hard to get there. It's what I do, with the company that nearly full time spend my time with, and then the other projects that we have going on with Nurture, I feel good about where I'm at, and I feel very successful. And I also know there's a long, long way to go to be who I want to be.
Yeah. And I think that story, what you just told there, or that perspective, is just a testament to your character, integrity, and humility. I've really enjoyed becoming friends with you. I know, you're a client, but I really consider you a friend of mine. And I've seen how the growth that you've had over just the last 2 years we've been working together, to see how that's changed and that freedom. Because I know you were hustling and grinding at first, and then you got to that point where I think I remember that night at the Standard, you came up to me and were like, "Hey man, remember you told me to go and ask for more money?" I don't remember the details of it, but you're like, "It happened," and like you got this big contract boost with one of your clients, and to see you grow into this ability to have that freedom, but to know that you're successful yet not satisfied, you're going to continue to work towards something greater.
That's right.
I think that's phenomenal. And I know your wife appreciates that. And I know your kids do, because you spend a lot of time focused on your family. And I know we can all appreciate this. As a matter of fact, you've missed both of our Exeter Club retreats this year because of family stuff.
I have, man. I have. But it is definitely what's most important. I want to be with them. And I'm coaching 10-year-old football. I think that's what I found out this year is, man, if I could coach 10-year-old football and be exactly where we need to be, I would do it in a heartbeat. We've had a blast. But yeah, I want to be at all of that stuff, like most dads, man.
Well, that's really, really good. So, you've got a lot of way, you got a long way to go to get to where your mind says that you can get to.
That's right.
But you've come so far in such a short period of time, building Nurture and then the software product Nurture 360. What would you say the keys are to your success? If you look back and say, this is one of the keys that helped me unlock success, what is it? Yeah,
I think the key to my success so far has just been, I think the fact that I'm relentless. I tell some of these business owners, if if we're working on something and it takes what it takes, right? Like I will not stop until we get where we said we were going to be. Right. And I think on top of just being like having a relentless work ethic, which I think I do, there's just a level of honesty there because I'll take us back a little bit. One of the things that was happening at that small company when I went back and we helped just really streamline is I also got some exposure to consultants, and I hated them. And I tell people still, I hate consultants. I do, because my experience was, these were guys that would show up and tell you everything that you were supposed to do and tell you a lot of what you should be doing. And then they go, yeah, you should do that. And they leave. And, I just said, I want to consult, but I want to do it differently, and I want to actually be in and help lead and help execute, because a lot of what people are missing is they know what they need to do, or they know about what they need to do, and they don't have a clear plan to execute. So back to the key, I think for me, it's been honesty, because the truth is, if I go meet with business owners and I tour what they're doing and have a look at the operation, the truth is I haven't had to do it many times, but the truth is if I don't think I can help, I just tell you. I just go, hey, I don't think we can really help. And I've had to do that on probably 2 places where I said, you know what, I don't think I'm the best, but I would much rather maintain a relationship with that person and have the trust over some money, right? Because I think a lot of people that do this just sell, and it's all about signing more projects and more contracts, and then they figure out, what are we going to do? And I just don't want to be that. So I think there's plenty of business and plenty of opportunities for everyone's skill set, and I want the best match, because at the end of the day, I just want to go I want to finish a project, and I want people to be thrilled with what's happened and thrilled with the changes, and that's what's most important. So I think a relentless work ethic, got to have it, and then just some integrity and some honesty about what you're doing, because I think that's lacking today in a lot of places.
Yeah, I would agree. And I look at that too as your keys to success, and knowing you as well as I do over the last couple of years working together as a coach and a client, I've seen that relentless work ethic. I've seen that honesty and then integrity come through. And I mentioned that earlier. So I look at those as certainly, I agree with you, as keys to your success. I do want to ask a question that I can't ask most of the folks that are on the show without it sounding, I can't ask you. I could ask everybody, but I can't ask you this question without it sounding self-serving. So I'm going to try to make this not a self-serving question. But how do you think the role of having a business coach? And again, I could ask anybody that question who's had coaches, and they could talk freely about it. But I know that I am your coach, and you're part of my mastermind group. So I'm not looking for self-serving answers here. But what role has a coach? What role do you consider a coach to be in success of any entrepreneur's journey to success?
Yeah. So perspective and honesty. I think a lot of people go through business coaches, and what they really want is someone to tell them what they want to hear. And I think what I have really enjoyed about the process of actually having a business coach is that, and in your case, Jason, I enjoy the fact that you're not afraid to tell me, hey, I don't think you're thinking about this quite right. Or hey, I think what you're doing might not be exactly what you need to do. And you have to have that around you, because, if you're just, I think somebody with a terrible ego would go, oh, well, he's a horrible business coach, or he's not very smart. Let's on to the next one, right? But you have to keep that around you just for perspective. So I can't tell you that, I've had countless times that you and I got together and I said, man, this is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm really about to go after. And this is how we're going to set it up. And you just I think what you do so great, it's funny how many parallels there are from you to a client and from me to business owner clients, because it's all about asking questions. And, for my case, it's like, I'm great at all these things for these other businesses, and then for mine, I'm clueless, right? But it's all about asking the right questions. I think you have a knack for just asking great questions that just take you to the next level. Okay, well, let's unpack that. Now I'm at another level, and you know probably what I'm talking about. But there's a couple of meetings in particular where you asked some questions that really put me back and made me go home and do some soul searching. And I think that's what you have to have in a coach. They're not there to just cheer you on. They're there to make sure you get where you want to go, even if there's agreement on where you want to go. But if that strategy and what you're doing needs to change, they're there to help you change it. And I think, something you say all the time is you got to have a business coach. You got to have a business coach. And I would tell anybody that's trying to start, grow a business, guys that are trying to freelance, I would echo it. You have got to find a good coach, and you've got to have people in the corner that aren't afraid to just kind of push you back a little bit and make you think.
Well, I appreciate your perspective. And again, I know it's a hard question for me to ask without sounding like I'm just fishing for compliments. But I do think that I believe that everybody should have a business coach. I know that I am a business coach, and people might think, well, that's easy for you to say because you're just trying to get more business. But I believed that for a long time, even before I was officially a business coach with my own business. I know that my life changed when I hired a business coach, literally changed. That's when my life financially, it's when I became a millionaire. That's when business blew up for me, because it's like you said, perspective. Like, we can't see what we don't even know what we're looking for. We're so focused on doing the deal every day in our business. Right. A coach is supposed to give us that perspective. And I it's been an honor to work with you. I mean, you've been a great client and friend over the last couple of years. You're one of the charter members of my Exeter Club Mastermind, and it's an honor to know you, an honor to see your business grow. What's the best way for people to reach out to Jake Milner and Nurture?
Oh, yeah. You can get me. I'm on LinkedIn. So it's Jake Milner on LinkedIn. You can email. I'll give you Jake, Jake at nurturegroup.com.
All right. Jake at Nurture. That's NERCHER group.com. And you've got the Nurture 360. I want you to do a little plug there, because I think that software is phenomenal. So Nurture 360 is a CRM and a leadership tool. I think it's phenomenal. People can go to nurture360.com and check it out. Anything that you want to say about Nurture 360?
Yeah, no, it's, something we did was kind of pull all the parts and pieces that you need into a simple platform. So we worked with a lot of small teams that were really just overpaying for tons of software and really paying for a ton of functionality that they don't need or didn't know how to use. And we pulled all the bits and pieces that really help. So Nurture 360 is really it's got a full sales pipeline, but it really lets people, it's been great for small businesses, coaches, consultants, freelancers. In a nutshell, it really lets you go from managing new potential clients or new potential deals all the way through your sales process. But then once you win a new deal or new client, it's got some functionality that just lets you switch right over into project management and organize all the client projects. So it's I like to call it sales pipeline and project management done the easy way, because it's very stripped down, very simple. There's not a lot to figure out there, and small business guys are loving it so far. We're really excited about it, and there's probably going to be some big marketing push for that over the next year, which is exciting. So there's going to be some cool things coming out of that too.
Well, I think the best thing that I know about that software, this is what we loved at my lighting company where we started using it a couple of years ago, is the sales pipeline visuals, because we had been doing what your software does automatically. We've been doing it manually in Excel for a long time, because we had these stages of the sales process. We'd have the prospect, we'd reach out to, and then we'd have a discovery call meeting, and then we'd have the audit, and then we'd have the, blah, 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 go all the way down to the big pitch at the final. Yeah. And we would track what percentage a percentage of deals would move from one stage to the next, and then from the next to the next to the next to the next. And we'd say, hey, we're losing most of our deals between these two stages. Where's something we can, and your software automatically does that. So I can't recommend it enough. People need to go to nurture360.com. And it is .com, right? It's not .org.
It's nurture360.com. And I'll say one more thing about Nurture360, because my favorite part, again, I hate consultants, right? And so I had so many, you've seen this, I had so many sales consultants come into some of the small teams that I was on, and they start by asking questions. They start by asking things like, well, how many emails does it take you to get a call? How many calls to get a meeting? How many meetings does it take to get this? Which are all the right questions to build your pipeline assumptions. But small business owners don't know. They don't know. They don't know how to answer those questions, right? So what happens is your sales consultants start building plans based on guesses. But what Nurture360, one of the coolest parts about what it does is actually gives you the answers to those questions. So once you're in it and you use it for a full sales cycle, you're moving deals across the board, but in the background, we're collecting all of that information and data, and we just give you those answers displayed on a screen without you having to try to figure it out. So, in the event that it serves you for a long time, great. In the event you got to graduate and you get a lot bigger and go to something else, well, at least you have those answers, right? Now you can build a full sales process. So, yeah, kind of sparked again from, man, I'm tired of these consultants asking all these great questions and just leaving. We really want to do something and build something that helps. That's what we're after.
Well, Jake, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. Your first podcast of many to come, I'm sure now, is in the bucket. So thank you for being here on the show. Thank you for being a friend and a client. I'm excited to see where Nurture goes in the future. Big contracts, big clients, but most importantly, how you're going to get that freedom. And I'm 100% have that freedom to do what you want, when you want, where you want, with who you want at any time. And I'm looking forward to walking with you on that journey. So, Jake, thank you for being on the show, and I will see you soon.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for doing it. It was an absolute pleasure. Let's get together soon, man. It'd be great to see you.
Well, there you have it. Another very successful entrepreneur about his journey to success. And his keys to success, as he talked about today, was this relentless work ethic and this honesty and integrity. And if you ever get the chance to meet Jake Milner in person, it won't take you long to know that that's not just fluff. That's not blowing smoke. The guy is relentless. He has a great work ethic, but more than either of those two things, he's just a great guy. Like, he has integrity. He's honest. He does what he says he's going to do. There's no pretense in this guy. And that's why I love him, and I love working with him as a coach to watch his business continue to grow. And I know that Nurture and Nurture360 are going to do some amazing things over the next several years. But anyway, Jake, congratulations, buddy. I'm proud to know you. Thank you for being on my show. His definition of success was freedom. And I think that's everything that we're looking for. So when you hear the outro today, I want you to pay attention to that, because the outro, my voiceover guy, is going to tell you a way that you can get in touch with me to figure out how to get to your freedom. So until next week, when I bring on another very successful entrepreneur to talk about his or her journey to success, I am the real Jason Duncan, and Jesus is King.
Thank you for listening to another edition of The Root of All Success with the real Jason Duncan. If you've enjoyed this week's episode, visit therootofallsuccess.com to access the show notes and other helpful resources. Follow Jason on social media at The Real Jason Duncan. Are you an entrepreneur who feels trapped in the weeds of daily operations, not experiencing the freedom you thought you'd have as a business owner? Want to know the way out? Take Jason's free exit readiness assessment to see how close you are to getting ready to experience true freedom and success as an entrepreneur. Go to amireadytoexit.com today. That's amireadytoexit.com. See you again next time here on The Root of All Success.